came out of seeing Spiral, the ninth installment of the Saw franchise. And I tell you, I got quite a few things to say about it right here on Horror and Coffee. Come join me. Let's talk about this. If you like what you see here, please consider subscribing to Horror and Coffee. Tap on the bell for future notifications for future Horror and Coffee content. We got horror movies springing up all over 2021, okay? And Spiral, the ninth installment of the Saw series, is definitely not to be ignored. Okay, it's directed by Darren Bousman, and it stars, of all people, Chris Rock. When I saw the preview of this film, and I saw Chris Rock taking on a more serious role, because as we all probably know, Chris Rock is known for his comedy, films, his stand-up routines and things of that nature. I was thinking, I kept on thinking to myself, is this really gonna work? Or am I gonna be just seeing a comedian trying to get to a more darker, serious issue? I struggled with that for a bit because I was thinking that Chris Rock wasn't gonna, the way he does it, wasn't gonna work. But guess what? It worked. He was serious, but there were some comedic moments, okay, in the film, especially early on, which I thought was pretty good. Well, let me get to the story here. He plays a disenfranchised police officer, undercover cop, who is not liked very well by his fellow cops in the precinct. And he's always constantly complaining to his boss, and she's trying to tell him, listen, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do. But then a series of killings start springing up that are specifically targeting police officers, especially police officers in that precinct. It's a very contained, very subjective experience, and it's up to Chris Rock, his character, to do something about it. I'm sorry, Chris Rock's name is Zeke Banks in the movie. That's what he plays. Another actor, Max Minghella, plays William Schenk, which is his partner in the movie. And what I found to be interesting about him is that I know him from A Handmaid's Tale. I watched that show. So it was cool seeing him take on a different role. Also in this film is Samuel L. Jackson. I feel like this guy is in everything. It's he's going to be in this movie, he's in this movie, he's in this movie. Well, okay, fine. Let's bring him on. He plays Zeke's dad, former police officer from that same precinct. And there's a connection with all these murders that are starting to happen in jigsaw fashion. Now, this goes back to the time of the Saw murders, perpetrated by John Hancock, the original killer portrayed by Tobin Bell in the original Saw films. And it doesn't really home in on what happened throughout all of those movies, just simply the methods. Okay? It doesn't really focus on John Hancock. It just focuses on what the new killer in this film uses from John Hancock's experience to start his new killing spree, basically. This is specific. These are police officers that were singled out specifically for their corruption. The Jigsaw Killer has always been about taking justice into their own hands in the most horrific way possible. That's how it's always kind of been. I would call this the spiral killer. Okay, the symbol of the spiral. Remember the spiral pattern on the cheeks of the Jigsaw doll, right? It's different in this film. That it takes nods to the original Jigsaw case, but it it's its own thing. Who the killer is in this movie is making this his own, right? Using the same idea. What I really liked about this movie is it really speaks of the times we live in. As I was watching it, I couldn't help but think about the state of affairs in our justice system today. All the stuff that's happened this past year with, the George Floyd thing and all those other people that have been unjustly killed for X, Y, and Z reasons that shouldn't have happened. And you kind of see or sense something of that nature in this movie, to the point that it's disturbing. It adds to the disturbing nature of the plot. It's a horror film that's very thriller based, and it kind of homes in on the whole nature of corruption within a system like that, and what terrible things can happen when somebody who's been that affected by it goes and takes matters into their own hands, using the legacy of John Hancock, the original Jigsaw killer. That's what I appreciated about this movie. I'm not going to tell you who the killer is. I want you to see this movie. But who the killer is had a big, he was influenced by the original Jigsaw killer and started doing the things he did. Detective Zeke, played by Chris Rock, tries to find out who it is, and he starts getting messages. He starts getting packages, clues about who it might be and what's happening, who might be next, and it's very tense from the very beginning of the movie to the very end. It's like this, and you're holding on to your seats, you're clawing on your armrests, and I liked that. The movie gave that feel, so that people can be like, wow, that was an intense movie, and for good reason. Do I think it was better than the original Saw? No, but I think it came close. Like I enjoyed Saw 1, 2, and 3, and then when the copycats started kicking in 4 and 5 and all those other films, I lost interest. I thought it got stupid to me. It was just another milk factory. But this movie was different. It kind of did something unique to something old. And I liked that. I appreciated that. And for that, I actually enjoyed this film. Going back to Chris Rock's role in this, I really can see now that he is capable of doing serious roles. It's not like people can't. It's not like comedians cannot take on serious roles in films after they've done, like, God knows how many comedy roles. It's more about, what they can bring of themselves into the character. And as Detective Zeke Banks, Chris Rock was able to not only bring about the flavor of of a disgruntled cop, he was still able to bring out the goodness in him too. As he was trying to work things out with his partner, with his father, again played by Samuel Jackson. He plays a big role in this. Don't get it twisted. He actually does some stuff here. Here's the thing, though. Here's one that got to me. I kind of figured out who the killer was halfway through the movie. My wife too. We were both watching, and it both hit us at the same time. I'm not gonna tell you when I felt that or caught that, but I stayed quiet, and then when the moment arrived towards the end, I was like, oh man, I was right. So I don't want to say this film is predictable. It could have just been me and my horror senses kicking in at the middle of that. But other people may not have figured it out, because I heard a lot of gasps when that was revealed towards the end. So, maybe it was just me because I'm familiar with watching these kind of movies. Had I not figured it out, I would have given this movie 4 coffee cups, but I'm going to give it now 3, which is still good. Still good taste. Still good brew. I enjoyed Spiral. And you should too. You should go check it out in the theaters. It's only playing in theaters. When you get a chance, come back, talk to me, let me know what you think, and comment about your thoughts on this new film based on the Saw. It's based on the book of Saw. Now it's like a book or something. It's chapters here, and this one's called Spiral. I'd like to call the new killer here the Spiral Killer, and that it should just be called Spiral. Spiral 2, Spiral 3. Let's start over again here, right? Let's put away the past. Yet still nodding to it, but bringing this brand of horror to a new generation, to a new kind of light. Let's see what happens. This is Ralph Perez from Horror and Coffee. Take care.